King and Dixon and our friends over at 98 Rock. All right. On a more serious note, Tyrese Haliburton's injury has turned the finals on its head a little bit, because it became really evident while Tyrese Haliburton was struggling his way through Game 5, going 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, scoring 4 points, and just generally not having an impactful game. It became really, really clear that regardless of what you think a superstar is, whether he is or is not a superstar, he is the reason that Indiana was tied with the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals and had a chance to go up 3-1 in Game 4. Like, he is a vital cog on a team that could win a championship. And now we get news that he's dealing with a calf strain. And Rick Carlisle said this morning in his media availability that Haliburton will be a game time decision. He's got to go through testing tomorrow, and they'll see how he feels. Tyrese Haliburton, of course, says he wants to play, but there's going to be a whole process. This is, I want to put this year's finals aside for a moment. Oklahoma City leads it 3-2. I want to put whether Indiana needs Tyrese Haliburton to win or not. I want to put that conversation to the side, and let's just talk about Tyrese Haliburton for a moment. This is a player whose team, back against the wall, facing elimination, is now dealing with a calf injury. And if you follow basketball at all, you know that, hey, Kevin Durant in the 2019 finals had a calf injury, came back and 17 minutes into the game or whatever it was, popped his Achilles.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Lost to the finals, lost the entire next season, lost an entire year of his career.
Yeah.
He's come back really strong from it. I don't want to say he was never the same player. He's really good when he came back, but lost an entire season of his NBA career because he tried to push it, tried to go play in Game 4 of that finals. Game 5? Game 4.
Ooh. I was in Toronto twice during that series.
Yeah, that was Game 5.
Yeah.
Because Game 6 was in Golden State.
Yes, Game 6 was Golden State.
5.
Yep.
So it's Game 5. Tried to come back, popped his Achilles. So the question is, if you're Tyrese Haliburton or you're the Indiana Pacers, I guess specifically Tyrese Haliburton, because I think the decision will ultimately come down to him. How do you handle this? How do you deal with, I'm in the finals. This is the biggest possible spot. Elimination game in the finals versus I don't want to potentially lose all of next season if this injury goes sideways and goes from calf strain to Achilles tear.
Yeah, the most difficult part about this is it's not just next season. It's that at 25, 26 years old, you restrict like your mobility for a good portion of your career. And like Ty's 25. He turned 25 in February.
Jeez.
I forgot he's a leap year kid. So February 29th.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So he's actually only 6 years old.
Yeah, 6 years old.
He's got plenty of time left to play, I guess.
Got like 30 years left.
That's right. He can play forever. Yeah, so like as someone who has covered the NBA for so long that I've actually been in the building when two separate players like ruptured their Achilles. Like you just know that once a player does that, they're never the same. And like, look, I had somebody, the Golden State Warriors during that run, the 2019 season, they put out there that that they had done the research or whatever, and that if Kevin Durant wanted to play, he could play, that he couldn't do any more damage. And I had someone instantly reach out to me that's in the industry and say, that is the worst statement I've ever heard, that so there crazy. Is absolutely no way that that's a fact.
So crazy.
The calf muscle is what supports the Achilles tendon. And that is a bad idea. If he's hurt, then do not put him out there. Well, then he goes out there and pops his Achilles. And then the Raptors fans cheered. And then
which is crazy.
Kyle Lowry had to grab the mic and chastise his own fan base.
Crazy scene.
It was wild to be there for that, but still.
That's where D'Lo and Casey had a really great discussion about this yesterday about, it really does come down to the player or the coach.
Yeah.
I guess. Because the medical staff can't say you're not playing. The medical staff is going to say, here's what you're dealing with. Here are the short-term risks. Here are the long-term risks. That's the assessment from medical professionals. And then the team, whether it's the GM and the coach and the coaching staff and the player, all kind of, collectively make that decision together. Because if they just put it down to Tyrese Haliburton, guess what? Tyrese Haliburton's going to play. Yeah. I have no doubt that even if the doctor's like, hey, your Achilles could be on the line here, I have no doubt that Tyrese Haliburton would be like, I'm playing. I've played 80, 90, almost 100 games to get to this point, over 100 games to get to this point this year. I want to win an NBA championship. That's my life goal. I'm as close as I've ever been. I'm the closest I might ever get.
You may never be back here again.
Right. So
that's the difficult thing.
I'm going to play. That's I have no doubt that that's what Tyrese Haliburton would say. But if you're Rick Carlisle, if you're the Pacers, it's not that easy.
No.
Because you've got Pascal Siakam, who's in his 30s. You don't have a ton of prime years of Pascal Siakam left. You don't want to lose an entire year of Tyrese Haliburton. You have no idea what this guy, who's already dealt with injuries in his career, what the after effects are going to be, if he's ever going to be fully healthy again. Like, this is the engine to your offense that got you to the finals.
Yeah.
Man, just a brutal, brutal spot to be in.
Well, that, and the other piece to this is that, Tyrese is making $42 million this year, but it goes up to 45.5 next year. It goes up to 49 million, and then 52.3, and then 55.7. I mean, this is your guy. I mean, you have committed to this player. And if you just wipe out his 25 to 26-year-old season, that would be crazy. Now, look, he could go out and play. He could go out and play and be extremely effective. He's not a player that relies on incredible athleticism. He's a player that is more crafty and that isn't, an above the rim player at, every turn. He can get up and dunk, but he's not an above the rim player. So you're thinking, okay, maybe he can get through it. You'll KT tape the living tar out of that thing.
Get some painkillers.
Yeah, and you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that thing is as good as it can possibly be. But at the same time, it's just such a risk. And I get it, though. Like, the Pacers, that Tyrese Haliburton, he may never be in this position ever again in his entire career.
It is so hard to go to the finals.
Yeah.
It is so difficult to go to the finals, much less get within 2 games of winning the finals.
Yeah.
And your season's over if you lose tonight. I would be stunned if I don't want to say stunned. I would be surprised if he doesn't play.
Yeah.
And what sucks is, I know this isn't necessarily what this is about, but I already hate the discourse. Because if Tyrese Haliburton doesn't play, if he says, you know what, the doctor said that my Achilles is on the line, and I don't want to lose all of next season. Like, look at look at Boston.
I know.
Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, and all of a sudden we're like, all right, let's see. They'll trade Drew Holiday. Should they trade Jaylen Brown? Should they trade Derek White? Like, it explodes everything that you're doing as a team.
And he's 27. He's only 2 years older than
right.
Haliburton.
Right.
I mean, again, this is an injury that usually happens. The Achilles tear.
Yeah.
Usually happens when you're a little bit older.
A little later in your career.
Yeah, because even like Rudy Gay had he had a fraying of the Achilles again and again, and they kept doing like shockwave treatments and all this other stuff, and then again pop
left him.
Yeah.
So that's where I think if unless the doctor is saying, hey, if you play more than 20 minutes, you are putting your Achilles on the line. I don't know how if you're the Pacers, you do that comfortably. I don't know how if you're Tyrese Haliburton, you do that comfortably. But if he doesn't play, he's going to get it's the finals. You got to go for it. Your season's on the line. He wimped out. He left his teammates hanging out to dry. But then if he goes out and plays and pops his Achilles, there's no, wow, he put his season on the line. Wow, what a warrior going out and doing that. You're not going to get the same credit.
One bad step though, and it doesn't matter how many minutes he's playing. One wrong step, and a step that you make every day, like it's nothing.
Yep.
It could be, again, like walking up a flight of stairs. You just take the wrong, you extend the muscle the wrong way and pop.
And I think that's the case every game. Every single game that you go out, like Jason Tatum wasn't dealing with a calf injury, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
He took a wrong step and his Achilles went.
Yep.
I get that that's a risk anytime you play. Like, there's going to be injury risk. You say everybody's banged up this time of year. Like, I get it. But when you're dealing with a calf strain that's directly impacting that very, very crucial tendon in your leg, there's a significantly higher risk. At least from what I understand about calf injuries.
Yeah.
So I maybe it's one of those things they give it a go, but man, look, we saw what now let's get back to the Pacers. We saw what it looked like when Tyrese Haliburton was playing hampered.
Yep.
I honestly think Indiana has a better shot if Tyrese Haliburton cannot be 100%, or if he's not moving comfortably, or if he's not doing the Tyrese Haliburton thing where he's just really hard to guard and really good at manipulating defenses. If he's not able to do that, I think he puts you in a worse spot. Rick Carlisle already said, we have a plan if he's not available.
Yeah, that plan is probably to move Benedict Mathurin to the starting lineup, hand the point guard duties to Nembhard.
Yep.
And just keep playing. You got TJ McConnell off the bench.
Yep.
Like,
see if he can throw a couple of curveballs at this really good Oklahoma City defense that, you know what? Hey, they just weren't quite ready. They didn't quite have an adjustment for game 6. All right, we're going on to game 7 and we can revisit this then.
Yeah.
That's how I would handle this. I think when the Achilles, if it's a shoulder or it's it's an injury, I don't know. I don't want to start trying to say one injury is worse than the other. If this is a wrist, where it's like, yeah, you know what, if he hurts it, or De'Aaron Fox had the finger thing.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you play through it, have surgery in the offseason, you're good to go by the start of next season. That's so different than, hey, his entire next season might be gone. I think you got to sit him for game 6.
Yep.
That's how I would go about handling this. We'll talk more about the NBA Finals coming up over the next couple of days. Of course, we will have the game 6 for you in Indiana. We'll have that game right here for you on ESPN 1320, 4:30 tomorrow. Coverage begins. All right, we got our draft prospect of the day, a player that I like a lot, who I really think could help the Sacramento Kings. We will talk about that. We've got our